Hey everybody, it's Elizabeth with Silvernest Homeschooling, mom of four, ages 11 to 17. We've been homeschooling for 11 years now, and I wanted to stop and just do a story time about something that I was convicted of pretty early on in my homeschooling and that I still find myself struggling with on occasion. One of the challenges of homeschooling and parenting in general in America and in this generation is that because there are so many different ways to raise your children, and because God has given us individual children with individual needs, many people have the feel the freedom to share their opinions on how you're doing what you're doing. And if you struggle with people pleasing at all, that I do fall into that category on occasion. Depends on, it really does depend on the subject, but I wasn't expecting to move under a magnifying glass when I decided to have four children. And I didn't understand that I was going to move under an even larger magnifying glass when we decided to homeschool. It just wasn't something that I was even thinking about as part of the decision making process. That everyone around me was going to wonder if this was going to work out, because it was not the norm. The four kids was just because we make a big impact everywhere we went, right? There's just a lot of them. And so if you go to the park and everyone has one or two children and you show up with four children, or you show up when everyone else's kids are in school and your kids are not, you're just going to make an impact. It's just like throwing a rock in a pool. It's just going to make an impact. Is it going to hurt anybody? No. Do a lot of people very supportive? Sure. Yeah, there are supportive people. But I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to get so much attention. I'm a theater major, so honestly, attention isn't always like a challenge for me. I actually can enjoy uh, getting people's attention and holding their attention for things that are life-giving and helpful. But I wasn't expecting the attention that I was going to get from just that one decision. The problem isn't that, right? That is just reality. How I handle it, that is an opportunity. But the problem came in when, as a mom, I began to equate the success and the failure of my children with my personal success and failure as a mom, right? A lot of times when we're parenting, whether you're homeschool or not, you're sowing seeds today that are not going to be reaped for a very, very long time. And when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the middle of that, training up your child in the way that they should go, so when they're old, they will not depart from it, that the Bible talks about, if you believe in that, when you're in that process of teaching somebody something over and over and over, you're not going to get to eat the fruit that day, right? One of my favorite quotes is, the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. And so a lot of times I was finding myself getting very upset and anxious and adding extra stress and pressure to my children to perform in a certain way so that I would feel better about the decisions that we had made to homeschool and obviously to have so many children. And now for some of you, are like, four is not very many children. I agree with you. We have friends that have 12. So, for me, four seems small. But, whatever. Okay. Everyone has their own sense of comfort. But that challenge that I had to go back to the Lord and say, Lord, you've got to help me with this. You've got to help me parent for their sake. You've got to help me homeschool for their sake, not for the comparison factor, not for how well does Susie do compared to Johnny, but how well is my child progressing in measurement to my child's past, right? How much further are they coming in their second grade than they were in their first grade? And are we seeing the benefits of sticking to something for a long time? Yes, we are. And we've actually seen a lot of benefits with homeschooling. But as someone who was raised in the spotlight, my parents were pastors, people were always watching us. It was something I was very aware of going into homeschooling, and yet I still found myself falling into that trap of like wanting my kids to perform well so that I would feel good about myself as a mom. And I think that the Lord really comes and convicts us in that. He really wants us to lay that down, to separate out what He's trying to do in our children's life and almost get out of the way of what God is trying to do in our children's life and take our ego out of it. When you're going to present like what you want to learn that year, or the level of the amount of work that you give your kids, is it measuring against someone else's standard that is just ridiculous? Or is it actually going to help that child grow and learn in the subjects that they need? Are we ignoring the true emotional or spiritual or practical learning challenges that our kids have because we don't want to admit that we didn't have everything that they needed, right? If my child struggles in math, do I have the humility to go find someone else to help my child with their math? And it gets those very practical side of it. Are we willing as moms and dads to go to the Lord and say, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I put my ego on this. I'm sorry that I want my kids to reflect me and not you. I'm sorry that I'm trying to use them to help me feel better about myself rather than going to you to receive the validation and the truth of your love for me. And if there's something wrong that I need to work on, that I'm not going to use my kids as Kleenex or as oh, I didn't get that aspiration when I was a child, so I'm going to make sure that they do what I wish I could have done. You know, laying those things down and just saying, Lord, each of these kids, help me to train them in the way they should go. Not in the way I want them to go, but the way you have bent them, the way you've already made them. You know, I have some kids that are amazing in art. They're so gifted in art. And there have other kids that are so gifted in music, right? And I am not gifted in music. I have done a little bit of music, but it is very clear that I do not have the stamina to practice nor the desire. And I have done a lot of art for a long time and have dragged myself into like a semi-art career. But that was from hard work, sheer tenacity. And these kids are coming up with these giftings. And it would be very, very sad if I pushed the child into an art career because I wish I could do an art career, which I don't actually wish, but you know, that's an example. Or if I told the kid who played the guitar, oh, you can't really play the guitar because I didn't ever play the guitar, so why are you playing the guitar? We want to be studiers of our children. We want to be students of our children. We want to learn what it is that they are called to do and then help them accomplish those goals. But take it to the Lord. Maybe this is something that you have struggled with as well. Maybe it's something that God has brought up to you, or maybe this is the first time you really thought about it. Am I parenting so that other people think that I'm doing a good job? Or am I parenting to truly help my child do what they need to do and grow in the areas they need to grow in? Am I hiding some own feelings of inadequacy and putting that on my kids, extra pressure on my kids to perform a certain way, to get a certain grade, to pass a certain thing, not for their sake, not for their learning ability, but so that I feel better about the fact that I've chosen this different path than what most people, or even just parenting in general, right? We have a lot of people that don't even have kids. Everybody feels the right to have an opinion. My husband always says everyone has opinion, just not everyone feels the need to share their opinion. And so I seem to find people that feel the joy in sharing their opinion. That's okay. I usually have grace for that. But just something to consider today, just story time, something that we have definitely had to deal with over and over in our family. And a word of encouragement from my favorite mentor mom, Karen. She always told me that they come with their own sin issues. Not everything is because you failed them. Not everything is because you didn't give them something they needed. They come with their own sin issues, those things that God has to work on in their own heart. Secondly, she would always tell me the things they're going to come back and complain about and say this is what you did wrong are never things you would have thought of. They're completely different than what you would ever expect. The things that you feel bad about, the things you feel guilty about, the things you keep carrying back to Jesus that you failed on, they won't even mention those. It'll be something completely different. And you'll learn to say, I'm sorry, I made those mistakes, and forgive and move on. She's a mom of 7. She also homeschooled, so that's partly where I put more weight on her word. She's now a great, fabulous grandma and doing that. But anyway, those two, hope they encourage you too. I hope you're having a great day. I hope that you are just enjoying time with your kids and enjoying the new season that you're in, and that this year is going fantastic for you. And we will see you next time on Storytime, and you have a great day. Thanks.